Come on in, grab a seat. We're going to get started. Would I be correct in saying that some of you have had an okay weekend? Yes? No need to get up, but is there anyone here who is not from Australia or New Zealand? Anyone? Come on. There we go. We got one, Matilda, visiting from Tennessee. Hey, Matilda. Anybody else? There's another one somewhere. You're pointing this way, there's another one. No? Just Matilda. Well, welcome, and welcome to everybody from New Zealand and everybody from out of town generally. We have a meeting entitled Language of the Heart this morning. Before I hand over to Ruben and Jen to do the reading and choose speakers, can I remind you that if you've already shared at one of the big meetings, to please decline if you get asked. I'm sure there's still 100 people in the room that haven't shared this weekend, so we'd really love to hear from as many people as possible. There's plenty of merch out there. We're going to pack it up at the end of this meeting, so if you were thinking to yourself, I've got to get one of those before I go home, after this meeting is the time. There's a few of these leather big books left, not many, but there's a stack of merch too, and I believe there's home group bundles for merch. If you want to take 10 t-shirts home to your home group, vastly reduced prices, so please go and do that. And I will hand over to Ruben and Jen. Thanks, guys.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Language of the Heart meeting of the 2025 Australian National Convention. My name is Jen and I'm an alcoholic. Hi, Jen. And I'm a member of the 100,000 Head Mile Checkup group that meets on a Monday at Potts Point. I'll now share the preamble of AA. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety.
Hey everyone, my name's Ruben, I'm an alcoholic. I'm also a member of the 100,000 Head Mile Checkup group that meets in King's Cross on a Monday night. So just a quick explanation on the time card system. With the view of having everyone participate at this convention, we are asking members to share their time. If you have already shared this weekend, we ask you to consider others and may like to decline so others have the opportunity to share. We have a time card system. We'll flash the 1 minute to go card and thank you for sharing when your time is up. We will just be the timers up here. So the topic for this meeting is from page 238 of Language of the Heart, a paragraph. In the first 6 months of my own sobriety, I worked hard with many alcoholics. Not one responded. Yet this work kept me sober. It wasn't a question of those alcoholics giving me anything. My stability came out of trying to give, not out of demanding that I receive. Could I please invite Chris from the Sunday morning meditation meeting to come up and share? Thanks, Chris. Hello.
Hi everyone, I'm Chris, recovering alcoholic. Bit unexpected. How long have we got? 5 minutes, yeah. Look, it's been a really lovely experience coming to the convention. Thanks for everyone who's put in the service and the setup and the planning. I saw that through membership of my local groups, you know, that sort of dedication and service. And I was taught early in AA that service keeps you sober. And I actually did a first convention in my first year called The Language of the Heart in Holborn in London. I got sober 10th of June 2004. And yeah, being at a place like this, it's a good point of reflection, you know, coming up to that anniversary and thinking about what happened then in that moment. I guess that moment where you go from being a drunk alcoholic to a sober one, and how that moment doesn't stick or comes and goes for everyone in their individual stories. And so many little reflections I could make, but I think if I think about the heart, like the heart of the matter, that shift from sort of an admission and an acceptance of alcoholism. I went to my first AA meeting in 2002 and I stood up, I said, "Oh, my name's Chris and I'm visiting." It was a strange place to go on a Sunday night. I put on my best shirt and everything. And by the time I left that meeting and went home, I'd convinced myself in a paranoid state that I was in, that they'd put the meeting on for my benefit, that it was an amateur dramatic society and they'd gone to the coffee to see if they'd convince the audience. That was where I was mentally and emotionally, and so I was living in my head, and as a mental illness, I was very psychotic and unwell. When I came to my second AA meeting after I'd been at treatment, I arrived and it was Hackney Steps and Traditions. And again, in my mind, there was no help for me, but at the end of my road was one of the longest standing AA meetings in London. And again, I was wrong. And I suppose for me, the language of the heart, or understanding the difference between my head and my heart, is that my head is often wrong, if not always wrong. But the heart and the gut does seem to know. And I suppose I was taught that if you're in that space of questioning AA, the best place to do it is in AA. And the journey from the admission to the acceptance, that's kind of the gig into the first step, and conceding to your innermost self that you're alcoholic's the first step of AA. Drunk people do drunk things is what I've learned in AA. And I was definitely a drunk person doing drunk things, but that's very different to being alcoholic. Anyway, that night, I can sort of cast my mind to it back. Yeah, it was a bit of a ramshackle group. A lot of familiarity, a lot of old school East End London members who were very warm and fun. They sort of took their AA seriously, but not themselves too seriously. And I was really all over the joint, as I guess you can imagine, turning up to AA like from a clinic. You know, and but I went along. I trusted. I actually got sober, I think, out of respect to the men who helped me in lots of ways. Anyway, I turned up at the meeting. I'd rang the where to find, and there was someone doing the share, and I was just lost. Really, I was like, "What on earth's going on?" You know. And the woman goes, "Oh, I'm here to do the share," and they were laughing at her. And then they said, "I think we're doing Tradition 8." They said, "No, we did that last week." They said, "Oh, no, we'll do step 4. Who's in charge?" And I thought, who's in charge of this meeting? What on earth's going on? And they said, "Well, he's new. Why don't we do step 1 for him?" And that was the first time I ever stood up in a meeting and said, "My name's Chris, I'm alcoholic." And that simple admission and acceptance of the reality has definitely proved to me to be a life-changing and life-transforming experience. I mean, it's a given for me, thank you, that... Not a given, but I suppose in my mind, life, yeah, it's definitely required effort. You know, step 2, open-mindedness, step 3, willingness. And I was taught early as well, don't confuse or muddle the sanity of the first drink with an overall sense of like amazing mental and emotional well-being. Like the name of the game in that first 12 months for me was embedding myself in AA, doing service, having home groups, and sort of like learning how to be sober. Through the people, the places, and the things, the literature, the step, always knowing what step you're on. Like that resonated for me because it made sense. And I guess that's where I'd sort of pause or land with this share, unexpected share, I might add. You'll know when it makes sense and when it doesn't. You know, and I know when it makes sense and when it doesn't. And for me, that's the sanity and the language of the heart, is that when I just feel in the right place at the right time. And I never felt that drinking. Thank you. I never felt right place at right time until I came to AA, so thank you.
that working? Yeah. Thanks, Chris. Could we please have Christine from the Gold Coast, who's in the front?
Hello friends, my name is Chris and I am an alcoholic. It's always very serious when I hear the word Christine. And I have to say that when I had the epiphany that I believe all of us, all alcoholics have, in that I'm really in trouble and I need to go to Alcoholics Anonymous, I actually did hear my name, Christine. And it was in the most, it was in the most hallowed ground you could think of. It was the Parramatta Leagues Club car park. And I thank God every day for that. Language of the Heart, what a magnificent book. The women I sponsor and some of the women that they sponsor, we have a study on Tuesday night and on Zoom, and we're studying Language of the Heart. And about 4 or 5 stories in, I said to the girls, now are you guys all okay if we continue with this? Because this is a darn big book and it's going to take us quite some time doing a story a week and really delving into that and using a dictionary and using Google to decipher some of the words and really have an experience. And their reaction was really animated. Yes, we do. This is enhancing and deepening our experience in sobriety. And I'm so grateful for that. You know, I look back at Language of the Heart and remember probably about 30 years ago, I was burnt out as usual. You know, it was the job, it was the family. It certainly wasn't me and it certainly wasn't the alcohol. But I took myself off to a spa weekend at a place called Warburton in Victoria, and attached to that place was a lovely private hospital, and part of that hospital was a drug and alcohol section. And every night it was run by the Seventh-day Adventist people. They're no longer in that town. They've actually moved their work up to Sydney. But I thank God every day that they were, and that was part of their journey. And every night someone would come in and speak about, you know, missionary work in Africa and vegetarian cooking and all that sort of thing. And one night, whoever was meant to speak, apparently they couldn't come that night. So the manager of the drug and alcohol section was to come in and have a talk to them about the work that they did, and he did that. I'm not sure if he's here, but I thank George and I thank God for George every time I'm at a convention, and other times as well, because he carried the message to me first. And when I say that, he talked about his work, he talked about his own journey, and then he switched to the fact that alcoholism is a family illness and that it spreads out to all the family, friends, or whoever an alcoholic connects with. And I identify, there was a spotlight on me. And through a set of circumstances, I came into Al-Anon, and I spent over 3 years trying to curb and manage my drinking because I did not want to be an alcoholic. And then fast forward, I have that epiphany in that magnificent car park at Parramatta, and come to Alcoholics Anonymous and surrender. And, you know, my hand has been held all the way through. You know, I was speaking to a dear friend this morning as we were checking out, and I couldn't help but say to her, you know, thank God you got sober, because I knew her back in Brisbane days and trying to get sober. And, you know, just feeling that heart connection and hoping this person would get it. And that's what it means to me, the passing on and to be available. And to be honest, you know, over 26 years of sobriety, and thank you God, it is a gift. It is a gift. It's nothing I've done. Because, you know, particularly in the first 4 or 5 years of recovery, and if you did it my way, most people wouldn't stay sober. So I know it's a gift from God. God meant for me to be sober, and I can't disrespect that. I must treasure it, and I must pass it on. And I look at this woman and I think, you know, now 12 years sober, after sitting, holding hands in meetings and just kind of, you know, I guess white-knuckling through it and getting there. And, you know, we also talked about how, you know, here we are in this room, so however many hundred of people are here right now, we will never meet like this again. And sad to say, some of us may not be here. So, you know, I guess what we need to do, put one foot in front of the other and keep passing on this beautiful message.
Could I invite Matilda from Tennessee to come up and share?
Hello, I didn't expect this. My name is Matilde, and I'm an alcoholic. And I am from Mexico, but I live in the United States, in Tennessee. I'm going to tell you a little bit of my story. When I was 16 years old, I have family in Florida, in the United States, and they were Orange-speaking family, and everybody go to work and get out and drink, and then I was growing like that with them, and then one of my uncles, he was telling me, drink a beer, and I'm like, I didn't like the beer. I tasted it before, and I didn't like how it tastes. And then finally I got a beer one time, and then my older uncle told me, why are you getting a beer? And then I guess they knew kind of how it was. But at the end, I was like confused. And then on a Christmas day, I drink a six-pack, and then I felt really good. And I told my uncle, the one that got on me for drinking, and I told him, I said, I drink to be happy. I don't drink to cause problems. That's what I thought. Well, I felt that way that night. And after that, I started drinking all the time, going to work and drinking. Then I was in the circle of the family, the generation of the culture of everybody drinking. And then I like how alcohol makes me feel. In the program, they sometimes they tell you to look back while you drink, and I just like the way how I felt that day. And then I could dance, I could do a lot of things. But then I used to go to the bars, and if somebody was fighting, I like to get in the middle. And I'm lucky to be here. I shouldn't be dead or in jail, but I'm here in Sydney talking to you guys. and long story short, I was just drinking like everybody, like a normal guy, I guess. That's what everybody thinks. And finally, I was getting, it was progressive, the alcoholism, and then I was getting more problems. And then I started raising a family, and then my wife was putting up with me. She's over there somewhere, the lights. But then she told me one night and says, if you don't quit drinking, we're going to leave you. And I already have 4 girls with her. But it's not like when somebody tells you to quit drinking. That night, I'm like, I'm going to quit drinking. Then I really have the desire of quit drinking. And that's when it works, when the person really wants to, not when the other people want to. And that night she told me that she was going to leave, but I knew that I needed to change. And then I was already in problems, and I was telling you, well, last night I shared a little. And I hired a lawyer for my problem, and I told him I wasn't drinking. He said, "You want to quit drinking, go to Alcoholics Anonymous." And then I didn't know nothing about Alcoholics Anonymous. It was the first time I heard about Alcoholics Anonymous, and then I Googled it, and then back then I was already living in Tennessee, and there's a lot of AA meetings in English, and I didn't know there was AA meetings in Spanish. I went to AA meeting in English, and they told me there's AA in Spanish here. And there's a little town there where I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, and then I went to the Spanish meeting, and then that's where I go to the Spanish meetings. But I'm grateful that they told me there was a Spanish meeting, and since then I've been going there. And this is the same program in Spanish or English, and I heard this in a lot of countries, and we're here. I live like 8 hours where the program started. I've been there in the house of Dr. Bob, and it feels really good. That's my first time when I went over there for the Founders Day, when there was a lot of people like this, and I love the energy of the people here. And I feel great because, when I talk to people like you guys, we got the same common problem, and that's what makes me feel like part of you guys. And I'm really grateful to be here. Like I said, this is like a dream from Orange-speaking guy. To be here and see this is incredible to me. Thank you. Thanks to the program. Thank you.
Thank you. Lucy B. from Sydney, would you like to share? You shared yesterday? No worries, thank you. Angela from Waverley Into Action, would you like to share?
Hi, I'm Angela, and I'm an alcoholic. Hi, Angela. And it's been a really great start to the day. I got quite emotional walking in here this morning because it's been such a beautiful weekend, and particularly the play a couple of days ago, it just really struck me with how grateful I am that those early founders of AA did what they did, both overseas and here in Australia. And because if I wasn't sober, I don't think I'd be alive today. My sobriety date is the 30th of April 2000, and when I first came in, I did not want to be here, did not want to do the suggested things, did not want to be a part of any of this, but I didn't want to drink more than I didn't want to do the suggested things. And it took me a year to share. Whenever they asked, "Angela, would you like to share?" I'd just say, "Hi, I'm Angela," and I would cry, and that was it. And then I, made a commitment to myself on my first birthday, every time I get asked to share, I will. And I did from then on. And, I gradually lost that self-centeredness. And I'm also grateful for, my boss 12-stepped me into the program, and I called the central service office from the boardroom at work at lunchtime, and the person on the other end of the phone would not let me off the phone until I committed to going to a meeting. And I'm so grateful for that, because I tried to get out of it. It's like, I can't go to that one, I don't have a car, or I'm working at this time. I had all the excuses, and they just kept, listing meetings until I said, yes, I can do that. And there's just so many kind of things that I'm grateful for in my recovery. And you know, that other people have shared and other people have, you know, showed up for me. And, you know, that's really taught me how to show up for other people in my life. I've never been someone who's just given for no reason. I give to get. And, you know, what I got taught in here was that, you know, I get to help, like, it helps my recovery, but, you know, I get to be a person who's able to show up for other people and, you know, just share my recovery with others. If, you know, if they want to take that, they can. If they don't have to. And everything I know about being a human being in the world today, I've learnt in AA. You know, I've done all my growing up in here. I've had lots of, it's just been nearly 25 years of just this incredible experience of life. You know, I used to live such a small life. You know, I was so afraid, so terrified of everything, didn't know how to show up for others, didn't know how to show up for myself, just did not know how to be. I thought that everybody else had the instruction manual and there was something wrong with me, something wrong with my brain that meant I just did not know how to do life. And when I got sober, I just kind of learnt all the things that I had never understood. Like I never understood how people held down a job, got a passport, got married, you know, even did basic stuff like the grocery shopping or buy a washing machine. That was one of my big early recovery achievements, was buying a washing machine, because it was just such a grown-up thing to do and I'd never known how to be a grown-up before. But the last couple of years of my life, have been pretty challenging, and, you know, all the big things that happen in your life, like moving house, divorce, business, struggling, all of those things happened all at once. And the thing that kept me going was the fellowship of AA and the recovery that gets shared in these rooms. And particularly the women, you know, the women in AA really just showed up for me out of nowhere, you know, and people I knew and people I only sort of knew just kept showing up, and it just blew my mind how I was held, how I've been held here, not only in my early recovery, but as I continue to keep coming back, you know. So, it's just been honestly, I'm so grateful to the committee for organising this weekend. And I came to the convention when it was here in 2001, I think it was, and I was so terrified. And I just felt really awkward and out of place, and it was awful. But thanks. But this weekend has just been beautiful. I've just really felt part of this community, and walking up and down, you know, between here and the Hilton with the name tags and the volunteer shirt and just everyone talking to each other. It's just been really beautiful, both in and out of the meetings. So thank you so much.
Could I invite Mark from the There Is a Solution group in Nowra? No? Already shared. Okay, no worries. How about Rangi from Caringbah Unity Group? Thanks, Rangi.
Done that walk many times. Good morning, friends. Tangi Marie, alcoholic. Grateful member of the Caringbah Unity Group. I think I grasped some of that reading while moving around. And I'm grateful. It's been a full circle moment for me. I got sober on the 28th of March 2002. And I think about 2 or 3 weeks later, I heard about this convention at Town Hall. And I was broken. and busted. I didn't have any money, so I rummaged through the couch at home for some change, just enough to catch the train into the city. And I didn't know you had to pay when you got here. And yeah, I walked in those doors with about $1.30, I think. And the lady said, "Oh, it's $40. And I met her, I'm pretty sure I met her yesterday. And I said, "Oh, I'm new, can I come in?" And she let me in. And yeah, some couple of decades later, still here, and grateful enough to want to help out a little bit, or get in the way. Be in over my head a lot in the last couple of years, because you taught me to say yes, and you didn't check my qualifications, and found myself in some strange places. But I am grateful for that. And what I grabbed from the reading was, I had an experience sufficient enough to recover. And it took me some time to be willing. And there's a difference from being willing when I first got here to being willing about 7, 8 years later. And then I had an experience that my friend Todd would say, the spiritual awakening of the intellectual variety. And I started sponsoring, and then I'd get upset when they would go missing. And I would ring my sponsor, and he would say, "Mate, you have to love them enough to let them go." And that wasn't good enough for me, so I would hunt them down. Where were you? It's I just get to learn more and more deeper levels of selfishness and what that looks like in me. I was more concerned with how they were making me look as a sponsor than allowing them to have their own space to reach that point that everyone needs to reach in their own time. And I didn't know that was safe. And I've had to learn that. And I'm still learning. And I love that this program allows that. Allows everyone their time and space to pick up the tools when they're ready. And all I have to do is be an example. There's a lady here who used to babysit my son. She got sober a couple of years ago. And she's now my unofficial sponsor. She loves telling me what to do. And when to eat, when to sit down, and when to go and sit in on a meeting this weekend. I'm truly grateful for everyone that's put on a red t-shirt, to the committee, the Hilton homies. Oh, it's actually another name that I can't say from the floor. But I love you very much. Thank you very much. I hope I didn't get in too much of your...
We're halfway through, so I'll just reread the reading. In the first 6 months of my own sobriety, I worked hard with many alcoholics. Not one responded. Yet this work kept me sober. It wasn't a question of those alcoholics giving me anything, My stability came out of trying to give, not out of demanding that I receive. I'm really sorry, the lady in the front with the pink jacket on? No, thank you? Okay. Sorry, I don't know your name. Miriam from the Northern Beaches, would you like to share?
Hi, I'm Mariam. I'm an alcoholic. Wow, what a meeting so far. It's been beautiful. And Rangi made me cry. Yeah, that reading just sort of brought me to a memory of being in my first 2 weeks. So my sobriety date is the 12th of August 2011, but I had a previous sobriety date and relapsed at 8 years. So I first came in 2003, and when I came back in 2011, and I was 2 weeks sober, thinking that I was the most important person in the room, needing a lot of help. My sponsor said to me, "See that girl that's just walked through the door?" She was brand new. It was her first meeting. She said, "I want you to go over there and reach your hand out and welcome her." And tell her to listen for the similarities and not the differences. And I said to my sponsor, "But I'm the newcomer." And it was my first introduction to service, and really prioritising that, because the 8 years previous, that when I came to AA at 23 years of age, I didn't really take step one, in my heart, in my innermost self.
Hello. Yay!
We're back.
So I think Mariam had 12 seconds to go. No, please grab your seats. We'll finish the meeting off.
Thanks.
How long does she have to? So she knows.
About 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. Thanks, Darren. Where was I? Oh, yeah, that's right. Thank you. That's never happened to me before in an AA meeting. That was awesome. Yes, so I guess I wanted to just say that I've learnt everything about being a human, a woman, a friend, a partner from AA, from being sponsored. I didn't really have any life skills when I came in. I was so young, and that first 8 years in AA wasn't me really surrendering to this beautiful program. It was me coming in and doing Mariam's version of AA, and it didn't get me very far. I had all of the same behaviours in my dry, sort of sober time that I had out there drinking. So it was way more painful being in AA dry without a solution. But on the outside, it didn't look like that, I had heaps of friends, I had a home group, I had lots of different sponsors because I'd fire them every time they said something I didn't like. And on the outside, it looked like I was really participating, but on the inside, it wasn't like that at all. And you can't fake this, you can't fake being sober. And so that culminated to me picking up just shy of 8 years sober in May 2011. And it was truly by grace and some beautiful people in the rooms that some are here today that kind of dragged me back to AA kicking and screaming because I didn't know what was good for me. And I came back August the 12th, 2011, and I've been sober since from that day to this. But all of the things that I cherish in my life, all of the things that I embody and I try and strive and practice to be, is all stuff that's come from AA. I had no idea. I think I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Sorry, I'm not sure your name. In the third row, in the blue sweater. Can I ask you to share? Thank you.
I'm Peter and I'm an alcoholic from the Third Step breakfast meeting in Plymouth in Wellington, New Zealand. And I've been coming for 29 years, so that's how my 30 years and on the 8th of May, so I'm getting there. It's been a wonderful convention, and I just thank everyone so much for giving me such an inspiring time. I was thinking how beautiful it was on the harbour last night, just looking at the city and just people dancing and just feeling. It felt very heavenly, looking up in the sky and just being part of this unbelievable world. And I wish the convention would go on forever. I want to bottle it and take it home with me. And I hope I can live some of the good things that I've got from here. I'd like to say a word to those who've buggered up their families. And I think I've got 3 children, and they were. We separated when they were about 9, 11 and 7 or something like that. And I come from a long line of alcoholics, and the thing that I've got is recovery, which my father and grandfather never had. They just had, they just had drinking and coped with life that way. And my father died like that. He lived a life on the surface that was okay, but he had these demons that he always struggled with. And I've been blessed with recovery, which I'm so grateful for. But with the kids, I've sort of made up with my son who lives in France. He's in late 40s, and I treated him appallingly. I was violent and, just never there and never went to anything he did. I had a session with him where I asked him if he wanted to talk about the past, because he's a sporty guy, he hates talking about feelings. And he said he did, and he'd written out this huge sheet of paper with notes everywhere. I couldn't believe it, and it was all bad. It was one nice thing, but it's made us a lot closer. And I've got a daughter in Copenhagen. She goes through periods where she has nothing to do with me, which is what it is now. And then I've got one in Wellington who pretends everything's normal, but it isn't. So, for those of you who are like me, who've wrecked a family and children, there is hope. It's got better than it used to be. So I've got my son, at least I'm close to, and I wasn't close to him at all. And the daughter in Wellington will come right, I think, eventually. And the other one, hopefully. But that's one of my sort of ongoing living amends to make up for the terrible way I sort of treated them. I'd come home drunk every night. In the early days, there was a meal in the oven that was sizzled up and dry, and then there was nothing, and I just would go home, drink some whiskey, and just live in a separate part of the house. It was like there's nothing more lonely than that. And I went to one AA meeting and hated it because I was too afraid and just went on my own. I wouldn't trust anyone. I thought they all knew my ex-wife, which of course they wouldn't. And then I stopped drinking for quite a while and went to, thanks very much, I had two partners at work, and we had a Christmas function, and I hadn't drunk for quite a while. And I thought Christopher would smell wine, and I don't know whether he really knew, but it looked good. And I had a big ego, he'd say where it came from, south of France or something. I thought, well, I'll do that. It's not drinking. And of course, I just drank like a pig. I didn't smell anything. I couldn't stop, and I was the last there. And the night went on with more debauchery, and I just thought after that, I just can't live like this. And so I talked to someone who knew someone in AA, went to their house, and they told their story and took me to some meetings, and I've been coming ever since. And funnily enough, the two partners I had in my law firm, one, that was when I started back, one of them was, I found it in the AA rooms, couldn't believe it. Although he was, why not? And the other one probably should have been, but I've just loved the convention, and I've loved meeting all you people. Yeah, thanks, and being with you, and thanks so much for such an incredible experience that this has been for me. Thank you.
Could we please hear from Wendy, who is 35 years sober today from the Central Coast?
Hi, my name's Wendy. I'm an alcoholic. Sorry. Sorry, I'm so incredibly nervous. I'll do my best. This is a very emotional moment for me. I looked it up this morning, and 12,774 days ago I was sitting in my first meeting. And not long after that, which was the next night, I brought my 2 children to the second meeting I ever went to. They were 4 and 6, and I'd been drinking for 17 years, a lot of that against my will. I didn't want to drink, particularly as a parent, and I just couldn't stop. And through a very weird set of circumstances, I ended up at those meetings. I wasn't coming for myself. I came because I knew an alcoholic. And he was really bad, and he'd got really good. And that very first meeting that I went to, he was at the pub on a bust, so he carried the message to me and was then never able to get it himself. So I'm really grateful to him still to this day. But yeah, I sat in that second meeting with those 2 little kids, one on each knee, sitting there thinking there is something here for me. I don't know what it is, but I know I need to keep coming here and not pick up. Those were the 2 messages. And today, the little 4-year-old is sitting in this audience. With 4 years in a 12-step fellowship. Yeah, but I too was incredibly moved by the lovely presentation that we had on the history of AA, and particularly the women who walked, stumbled, crawled along before us, so that I can be standing here today and sitting here next to my beautiful daughter, celebrating 35 years of sobriety. So thank you to everybody who's organised this weekend. It's been absolutely incredible. And, as soon as I saw that this convention was on, I thought, I have to be there. I just have to be there. So, yeah, I'm really, really grateful, and thank you so much.
Can I please invite Perry from Borkham Hills to come and share with us? Oh, you've already shared? Okay, no problem. Can I ask Brendan from Tarot to come and share with us?
Hi everyone, my name is Brendan. I'm an alcoholic. Wendy made me cry. Like a previous speaker, I've been in AA for in August it'll be nearly 20 years. But over that time I've had most of that time sober. But I've been one of those members who's relapsed a bit. In September last year, I was just shy of 8 years, and I relapsed, and it was a very humbling experience for me. I drank for 3 weeks, and in one night I had the police, the fire, and the ambulance at the house. And it was a horrific time. But if it wasn't for members in AA who really care and who don't judge and who are there to help, I don't know. I may not be here, but my wife and just how supportive people were, and thankfully. I've had some good experience in AA, working with other people. I suppose in 2016 was probably the first time that I ever came into AA and really gave it a go, and decided to, throw myself in and do whatever was suggested. And, I entered the sponsorship race with a few other newcomers, trying to rack up sponsees as quick as we could and compete with each other. And I don't know if we really helped anyone, but it really helped me. And but one of the most profound experiences that I can remember was, I used to be the secretary at Taro at one time, and I used to get there pretty early, and I got there early, and a new guy came, and I was just welcoming and friendly toward him, and and then the following week he came back and he was asked to share, and he said in his share that the only reason get emotional that the only reason that he came back was because because someone met him there, and he was treated really, really nicely, and and I just I've often underestimated that. Like when I think of helping other people, in the past I would think of having this profound spiritual message and being able to blow their socks off with something that I say, or to carry my big book with me and pump them through the first 3 steps in 15 minutes, and and then at every meeting they go to, they share how wonderful Brendan is as a sponsor. But that's not what it's about, and it's taken me a while to learn that. But just to be welcoming and kind and genuine when I see new people coming in. I just, you never know what sort of impact that can have on people's lives. And, when we first turned up here this morning, there was a guy who fell over on the tram tracks and he split his head open. And, that was the type of alcoholic that I am. Like, I'm that guy. I don't hold down a job and, I lose everything. I live on the streets, and, thank you. And, it was really nice to see plenty of members get around him and help him up, and I think that's what it's all about for us, or for me, is just trying to be helpful where I can. And I only came down last night. I had to work this weekend, and part of me was sad because I couldn't be here for it all, but I'm just grateful that I could be here. And especially for Wendy, happy birthday. 35 years, you're a wonderful lady, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
That's all the time we have for shares. Thank you all, and thank you to those who shared. I'll now invite Darren back up.
Great job to all of the committee, yes. How's that an hour? Gosh. It was like there was like a space in the middle or something, I don't know. A few announcements. There are T-shirt bundles out there at the merch desk. Please take them away. As you can imagine, they're not going to be sold after this weekend, so all funds received will help pay for this amazing weekend, and any leftover funds will go to GSO anyway, so please try and help out in that way. There are a few red leather 80th anniversary numbered big books left as well. We're going to pack everything down after this meeting, so if you were thinking I'll go back and get them before I go home on Monday, now's the time. There is a little bit of lost and found at the information desk in there as well. A few water bottles, hats, different things. So please, if you've lost something, go and have a look. I was reminded yesterday that the board has approved a new piece of literature called, the working title is AA on the Inside. So if you have any experience doing service work in corrections, if you've ever been to jail, drunk in jail, sober in jail, they're calling for stories. So please, in the same guise as the message stick for Indigenous Australians, they're trying to pull together a book for those people getting sober in prison. I think that's all of my announcements, except that the first couple of rows here on the front right for you are to be reserved for those people on the committee, etc., at the next meeting, and which will start at 10:30. And I've got to just share one thing. Sorry, I have to do this. I was in this room in 2002, and it was a fantastic national convention. And I heard this for the first time. I wrote it down. I've carried it with me everywhere. One of the speakers that were brought out from the US shared this, and it just hit me like a brick. I sought myself, I could not see. I sought my God, he eluded me. I sought my brother, and I found all three. It's very pertinent to 12-step. Can we help Ruben and Jen take us out with the Serenity Prayer? And we'll be back here at 10:30 for the closing ceremony and the sobriety countdown.
To the God of your understanding.
Keep coming back.
Great job.
Thanks for the invitation.
Oh, it was awesome. What a great meeting.